They didn't just doubt my small project, they dismissed it like a punchline without a joke. My sister-in-law set down her wine glass. A complete waste of time, she said. Not angry, just certain. My father-in-law nodded. At least it keeps her busy on weekends. I glanced across the table at my husband. He said nothing. Didn't defend me, didn't flinch. Just cut his steak like I wasn't sitting there. That moment told me everything I needed to know. It's fine, I said, standing up. Enjoy the rest of your meal. I didn't explain. Didn't argue. Because here's something I've learned. People who've already decided your worth aren't listening. 3 mornings later, my phone buzzed. My sister-in-law's name appeared. Different tone now. Tight. Controlled. Can you come over tomorrow, she asked. Family discussion. We need to talk. I didn't ask why. I already knew something had shifted. People don't suddenly choose their words carefully unless they've discovered something they didn't expect. Of course, I said. I hung up, opened my laptop, and checked the dashboard. Everything still intact, ownership structure untouched. Good. Because even if they'd found out about the company, they still had no idea who actually controlled it. The next afternoon, I arrived exactly on time. They were already seated. My husband wouldn't meet my eyes. Neither would his parents. That was new. I took my chair, placed my bag on the table, and pulled out one document. They wanted a conversation. I came prepared for something else. No one spoke at first. Another first. 3 days ago, they'd filled the room with opinions without asking permission. Now they waited. My sister-in-law cleared her throat. We wanted to understand something. Interesting word. Understand what exactly? Your business, she said. The one Michael works at. My husband's name sounded foreign in her mouth. Careful. Measured. Yes, I said. She nodded like she was verifying something she'd already double-checked. We heard some things, her husband added, about ownership, structure. So they'd done more than hear rumors. Who told you? I asked. Neither answered. My husband shifted in his seat. That's not important, he said. It was, but I let it go. Just to be clear, my sister-in-law continued, You're saying you're involved? Involved? I almost smiled. I reached into my bag, pulled out the document, set it between us. Didn't push it toward them, let them come to it. Silence stretched. Then my husband leaned forward, picked it up, read the first line, and went completely still. What is this? His voice didn't sound like his anymore. The ownership filing, I said. He kept reading. Slower now. Each line heavier than the last. His father leaned over his shoulder. Then his mother. 3 heads, 1 document, nobody speaking. Because for the first time, they weren't guessing. They were seeing it. 15 seconds passed, then 30. My husband looked up first. This can't be right. His voice had dropped, not confident anymore. Careful. It is, I said. He shook his head. You don't own this. The company is publicly traded. There are shareholders. Correct. So how? Keep reading, I said. He did. Slower this time. Line by line. The part that mattered wasn't at the top. It never is. It was buried in the structure, holding entity, controlling interest, voting rights, all routed through a name they'd never paid attention to. Mine. My father-in-law leaned closer. What's this Harrison Holdings? Mine, I said. He frowned. But that's not the company Michael works for. No, I said. It's the company that owns it. That was when it landed, not all at once. Just enough. My sister-in-law sat back first. Then my husband. Slowly, like distance, might help him process. You're saying, he started. I'm saying, I cut in calmly, you work for a company that answers to a structure I control. Silence. Real silence. The kind that doesn't fill itself. He looked at the paper again, then at me. Different now. Not dismissive, not relaxed. trying to understand how long. Since before we met, I said. And that was the moment everything shifted. Because they hadn't underestimated my business. They hadn't understood it at all. No, my husband said, not loud, just immediate. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to, I replied. It just has to be accurate. He looked back at the document, scanning for something he could challenge, a mistake, a gap, something he could use. There are boards, he said. Directors. Compliance. You can't just... I don't, I said. That's the point. He stopped, because that was the part people like him never understood. Control doesn't always look like a title. My father-in-law leaned forward again. If this is true, he said slowly, why wouldn't anyone know? They do, I said, the people who need to. My sister-in-law let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. But Michael works there, she said. He's been there for years. He would have known. I looked at her. No, I said, he wouldn't. My husband finally met my eyes, fully this time, not defensive, not dismissive, searching. For how long? He asked. Long enough, I said. Silence settled again, different now. He picked up the document, turned it over like there might be something hidden on the back. There wasn't, not there. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. That question almost made me smile, not because it was surprising, because it was predictable. You never asked, I said. His mother shifted in her seat. Sweetheart, she said, softer now, we didn't know. I know, I said. Calm. Even. Because this wasn't about what they didn't know. It was about what they decided without knowing it. And that part wasn't something I was interested in correcting anymore. No, my husband said again, quieter this time. That's not what I meant. Of course it wasn't. It's fine. I said, it's not. My father-in-law cleared his throat. If this structure is legitimate, then there are implications. Implications. Another careful word. Yes, I said. For Michael's position, he added. His role. Reporting lines. My husband didn't like that. I earned that job, he said quickly. I wasn't handed anything. No one said you were, I replied. He looked at me like I had. My sister-in-law leaned forward. We're not here to argue. We're here to understand how this affects the family. The family. Interesting. In what way? I asked. She hesitated. Just a second. Stability, she said. Future planning. Decisions. Decision. I nodded slowly. Then reached into my bag again, pulled out a second document, set it on the table. Closer this time. For clarity, I said, this outlines executive authority over the holding structure. My husband didn't move, so his father picked it up, read the first line, then stopped. Michael, he said quietly, you should look at this. He didn't want to, I could see it. But he did, because not looking would have meant accepting something worse. He read slower than before, more carefully. And then he went still again. What is this? He asked. Your reporting structure, I said. Silence. Because now it wasn't just about ownership anymore. It was about where he stood inside it. And for the first time, he was starting to understand. He didn't stand where he thought he did. He read it twice, then a third time. Like repetition might change the outcome. It says indirect oversight, he said slowly, through the holding board. Yes. That's not. This isn't. He stopped. Reset. I don't report to you. Not directly, I said. You report into a chain that ends with me. My father-in-law exhaled. Michael, look at the org chart. He did. Boxes. Lines. Titles. His division. His manager. Their manager. Upward all the way to the top. To a name he'd never paid attention to. Mine. That doesn't mean anything operationally, he said, grasping for it. There are governance rules, firewalls. There are, I said, which is why I'm not in your day-to-day. Relief flickered. Brief. And why, I added, this next part matters. I slid one more page forward. Executive authority includes compliance escalation and personnel review when risk is identified. He didn't touch it. What risk? He asked. I met his eyes. Conflict of interest, I said. Material non-disclosure, he frowned. I don't. You used internal timelines to negotiate outside offers, I said. You discussed pending contracts at home. You signed documents you didn't fully read. Silence. His mother shifted. What does that mean? It means, I said calmly, there's now a record. He looked at the paper, then at me. And for the first time, he wasn't trying to argue. He was trying to understand the damage. No, he said. That's not. Everyone talks about work at home. Not like that, I said. He pushed his chair back slightly. You're twisting this. I'm documenting it. That landed harder than anything else. My father-in-law leaned forward again. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying, I replied, there are multiple instances where internal company information was discussed outside protected channels, dates, contract timing, projections. My husband shook his head. That's normal. Everyone does that. Not with someone actively negotiating outside positions, I said. Silence. His mother blinked. Outside positions? He didn't answer. Because now it was stacking. One thing, then another, then another. I slid the final document across the table. Not toward them, toward him. Read the highlighted section. He didn't want to. I could see it, but he did. Because not reading was worse. His eyes moved, stopped, moved again, slower. What is this? He asked. Pre-termination review, I said. For what? For you. Silence filled the room, thick, uncomfortable. His mother's voice came out thin. You're not serious. I don't have to be, I said. The process is. He looked up finally, fully, not defensive, not confused, just aware. What happens now? He asked. I held his gaze. Now, I said calmly, it stops being a conversation and becomes a decision. No one moved, not immediately. Because once something becomes a decision, people realize they're not in control of it anymore. My husband looked down at the document again, then back at me. What are my options? He asked. That was new. 3 days ago, he hadn't thought he needed any. 2, I said. I didn't rush it, didn't soften it. Option 1, I continued. You go through the formal process. Compliance review. Internal investigation. Board involvement. My father-in-law shifted in his chair. He understood what that meant. Public record. Permanent. Option 2? My husband asked. I reached into my bag one last time, pulled out a single page, set it in front of him, closer than the others. Resignation, I said. Effective immediately. With a signed acknowledgement, his mother inhaled sharply. You're forcing him out. No, I said calmly. I'm giving him control over how he leaves. Silence. Heavy. Real. He picked up the paper, read it once, then again, slower. What happens after? He asked. Nothing dramatic, I said. You move on quietly. And if I don't sign, I met his eyes. Then it won't be quiet. That was it. No raised voice, no threats, just clarity. He looked at the paper one last time, then reached for the pen, because for the first time, he understood something I'd known all along.